Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be doing a collab with me and Movie Talk. So yeah, on Discord. Say hello.
Wait. My name is Movie Talk, the owner of Movie Talk, and sadly we couldn't have Ginger Cat 59 right away, but he kind of ditched the channel, but no, in a good reason because he didn't want to embarrass himself. So now we have Screen Trooper Studios, but he's not in this part of the podcast, but probably in the other half he'll join,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Yeah. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about Marvel movies.
The which movies are good and which ones are bad.
Okay, so which should we talk about the bad movies first or the good movies?
Let's talk about the bad movies first.
Okay, so this doesn't have to be in the MCU. This could be
Yeah.
like, Spider-Man 3 or
Or it
the
could be like the X-Men movies or something like that. If it's involved with Marvel, yes.
Okay, anything that's involved in Marvel, no matter what year it is, it counts.
Yes.
So yeah, which bad movie would you like to talk about first?
First of all, I would like to talk about X-Men Origins. Wolverine Origins. Yeah, this was a bad movie. They executed Deadpool in a furious way. Should have not included Deadpool in this movie. If they actually went with a different route, they could have had a better movie on their hands, but they just had to ruin it with Deadpool looking like he's a freak.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah,
mean, it didn't really look good. I haven't seen the movie personally. I just seen like very few parts. Um,
don't risk yourself watching those movie. That movie, it's bad. It's a
okay.
bad one.
I only seen like five X-Men movies, or I think I've seen every X-Men movie except what was the Phoenix one and this one. I have not seen the other ones though. I mean,
The Dark Phoenix was not the best movie because it copied off The Last Stand. Now, The
yeah,
Last Stand is basically Gene being bad, and they just copied that in a bad way to actually get money. But it was the opposite because it was running against Endgame that time.
yeah, because Endgame has officially become the highest grossing movie of all time, and with that, I believe that it was a big mistake. I mean, nobody knew, like everybody knew that was going to be like the biggest movie because it was like kind of like the final Avengers movie, and it was also the final stage in stage two of the MCU. So
But we're not at that part yet. We're talking about the bad movies
yeah,
still. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. What's a bad Marvel film for you,
Uh,
Emil?
for me, it's two Spider-Man films: Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man. But first, let's talk about Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, you want to say how it's bad and that stuff.
Do you like it? Just
Uh,
asking.
Spider-Man 3, I wish they did better with this film. Sam Raimi even said that it's the worst movie that he's directed, and he didn't like that film.
And
Spider-Man 3 was a bad movie for me. I barely remember it. And I mean, there is some funny parts in the movie. Well, it's kind of a cringy part in there,
yeah,
like, um, yeah, it's just like that emo Parker scene where he's like doing the handguns and he's like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's quite funny, but also a lot cringy. And, like, it's bad.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cringy parts in that one, but it's not totally Sam Raimi's fault because Sony likes to get their hands on movies and they go like, Sam Raimi, I know you directed these other ones and they were great, but we want to be involved, and if you want to get us, Sony's like the producer of the movie. If you want
Yeah.
us to give you money for the movie, you have to do this in the movie that we tell you to do. So it was not entirely his fault. It was Sony's fault, which is most of the case of bad movies.
And Sony had to take away Spider-Man away from us.
Yeah, yeah, but at we have Tom Holland now, so
Tom Holland. I'm like, I
the,
think that's one of the best Spider-Mans.
that is the
But,
best
okay, no
Spider-Man.
one can beat Toby. No one can beat Toby.
Uh, I never really pictured him as the definitive Spider-Man. I just spied up. I mean, like,
And he was quite old in the film, and I did not like that about him. But I mean, he did a good job with Spider-Man.
yeah, but the movie had way too many cringe-worthy parts, and
Yeah,
it also tried to include too many characters. I mean, if if Infinity War taught us anything, it showed us that like putting a lot of characters in a movie is not impossible. But with Spider-Man 3, they just did it in such a bad way
they
that
okay. Venom barely had any screen time, and they just like probably in the third act of the movie, Venom was barely there. We didn't really get to know that symbiote more better, but we only got to see him in Emo Parker, which really they should have not introduced three villains like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
I get a feeling that um, Sony had like a big part in those two movies because they're just equally as bad, and they're both made by Sony. So it just shows you how they try to take over these big budget movies that everybody wants to see because it's Spider-Man. Um, Also, another thing that I had trouble with is that remember the part when Harry Osborn gets hit in the pole and he forgets everything.
yeah.
That was the dumbest plot
I know
device
that was the
ever.
dumbest decision that in the movie.
I mean, like, seriously, you could say that with any character. Like, oh, if Iron Man hits his head too hard, he'll forget everything and then he'll become a bad guy. It's so dumb. It's like such a unnecessary thing in the movie. I mean, if I had it my way, I'll put Harry Osborn as the main villain and Venom as the villain. Either Venom or Sandman, but no, not three, but only two villains in the movie.
Yeah.
Because okay, I'll talk about this later when we talk about actually the good movies. But yeah, also the ending is very the same as all the other movies. Um,
Yeah.
and there's this YouTuber who made a very good point. His name is Cosmont Variety. He made a very good point of how these films, if you watch them side by side, they're very much the same. And I actually do really agree with that. It's just that some are better than the others. I mean, personally, I like the first one the most. Second one, I don't know why people think is like the holy grail. I mean it's good, but I just prefer of all the Tobey Maguire ones, I preferred the first one.
I'm sorry you might be hearing some thunder right now. We're in a thunderstorm right now.
Okay.
But here's another bad Marvel movie that came out. Um, or The Dark World.
Thor: The Dark World. I have not seen that one, so I cannot
Um,
really say anything.
yeah, uh, same with X-Men or Wolverine Origins. Do not watch this film. You'll waste your time with Thor: The Dark World. The villain is forgettable. Everything is forgettable, and just put in plot holes everywhere. And they should have not made this movie and just maybe put the villain as like Beta Ray Bill. I'm probably if they changed the plot a little. I know they wanted to introduce the Reality Stone in this movie, but they could have done that in a different way, not in Thor: The Dark World. Could have introduced it in just say maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. I know the Power Stone was introduced. You could have mentioned the Reality Stone in that movie, and we would have gone completely our separate ways, or everything would make sense. But they had to make Thor: The Dark World. Um, well, it's not really the fact that they mentioned it in Avengers Endgame, and they had to go back to that time period. I know they wanted Thor to reunite with his mother and say, "Hey, hi." or just get their tides or get their story arcs, like, first story arc finished. But they could have gone to Thor 1. I mean, like, oh, Jane had the. Okay, it's so complicated that they just had to introduce Thor the Dark World.
I mean,
And
personally, I haven't seen the second Thor. I've only seen the first one and Thor Ragnarok. And of those two I've seen, I like the third one the best because it was the guy who made one of my favorite movies, Jojo Rabbit. So
yeah, Taika Waititi.
yeah. Oh, so
I
that's
don't
what's his
know.
name. All like the New Zealand people in my school always say, "Oh, you're saying Taika Waititi wrong," and I go like, "How do I say that name? It's so hard to say." And then,
I know.
thank you.
Taika Waititi. Is it Taika Waititi or is it Taika Waititi?
Yeah, I usually say used to say Taiki Watai or something. I can't even remember.
No, like some director names are confusing.
Yeah, I mean, even at first I used to say Quentin Tarantino wrong. I was like Quentin or something. I can't even remember.
Um, what is okay? What? Okay.
But
What's another Marvel movie that you don't like?
um, besides Spider-Man 3, I really do not like the spy. I don't like this Amazing Spider-Man, but I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think the last half an hour is really good, but the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably either as bad or even worse than Spider-Man
It's
3.
I think it's worse. I
Yeah,
did not have time with this film. It felt like it was just didn't make any it didn't make any sense to me. Watching this film, it was bad. Yeah.
yeah, because well, I mean they did the exact same thing with Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Sorry, the Amazing Spider-Man 2. It did the exact same thing as Spider-Man 3. It tried to introduce like too many characters, and you know how you complained of Venom not really being in Spider-Man 3. Well, Green Goblin's not even really in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. He's like 5 minutes, and I counted 5 minutes in the whole entire movie as Green Goblin, not as Harry Osborn, as Green Goblin. He's only 5 minutes.
Yeah, they definitely wasted Green Goblin and Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Electro was it's his arc was bad. I wouldn't even call it an arc. I would just call it a bad origin story because he's like, why am I not getting noticed by Spider-Man? And just think that's like a bad origin story for Electro. Maybe if Spider-Man just left you in an accident or something like that, or if he like uh, trade you or something like that. That would make a good origin story, but they just had to go with the route. Hey, I'm not getting noticed. It's I just can't even get my head around.
Yeah.
Um,
One question. Who? I mean, I know who Electro is. I just don't know what his original origin story was. I don't
um,
exactly know. What was his original in the comics? Because I only have the green. I only have a collector's edition of like the oh my god, the lizard comic. I only have the origin story of that one. I don't know anybody else's. And Green
um,
Goblin.
I think his or yeah,
Um.
struck by while holding live high tension wires. So he was so basically he was holding wires and he got struck by lightning.
Yeah, that actually kind of makes sense because if you get struck by lightning, I mean, people have got struck by lightning, but if you get struck by lightning on a wire, then that's actually kind of cool. They should have stuck with that. I mean, they were. I thought that's what they were
Kind of
going.
did.
They kind of
Yeah,
did.
but they
They put electric
and
eels in like a pool.
electric eels out of electric eels out of like you could have done different things. The maybe electricity got too overpowered and he was holding it. Maybe the electricity just came out of nowhere and it shocked him. Spider-Man left him alone or something like that. Or yeah.
Yeah, because like seriously, electric eels. I mean, come on. It's like in real
Why?
life. In real life, I believe that I'm not sure, and nobody in the comments should um like get angry at me. But I believe I'm not sure, but it may be that electric eels give like 500 volts of electricity to someone, and that's
But
enough to like really kill them.
you. Yeah.
And so him being in a pool of electric eels and his tooth being sewed together and him turning into like a big ball of energy makes no sense whatsoever.
And he gets better eyesight for some reason. That doesn't make any sense. It's not like he was bit by a spider. Um, okay, let's go on to the good movies, the good Marvel movies.
Okay, can I just say one more bad thing about Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah.
Actually, two more things. First of all, in the beginning scene when Spider-Man is like telling jokes to Rhino, Rhino is like injuring people and Spider-Man just keeps telling jokes to him. It's like, why? Stop the guy. You have the you have the option. It's like it's like
The
stop.
right.
It's like stop. It's like stop the guy. He's a menace. He's Dennis the Menace. Who cares? Okay. Second problem I have with this film is that Gwen Stacy's death is. I mean, I know what happened in the comic. That Spider-Man tried to catch her with his web and her neck broke because from distance if you get caught, it immediately breaks your neck. But I mean, like the most dumb way. It's like, come on. And personally, there's some actors and actresses that I really hate when they die in movies. And I think Emma Stone's like one of those people that I really do not like when she dies in movies. I mean, come on.
Could have built up, like tension. If they made like another 5 Amazing Spider-Man films and they were good and we cared about Gwen Stacy, she died. Maybe we would have cared more.
I
But
mean,
they just had to do it too soon.
yeah, it's like, and then, I mean, can I tell you something? I don't think that most people know this, but in the comics, when Gwen Stacy, and I read this in like the comics, when Gwen Stacy died, Spider-Man got so upset at Green Goblin that he took his, thing that he flies, and like, in the first Spider-Man movie, Green Goblin dies because his wing thing like crashes into him. That
Yeah.
they copied that from the Death of Gwen Stacy comic, that Spider-Man gets a thing and throws it at Green Goblin and punctures him in the chest. They copied that from like the comics. So not most people know this, but the death of Green Goblin in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man is actually the death of Green Goblin in the comic where Gwen Stacy dies. And
Yeah.
and yeah, that's like the first time that Spider-Man actually like killed someone besides the person who killed his uncle. So that was kind of I mean, that was impactful because in the comic it was like actually like, oh my god, they actually have the guts to actually kill like somebody in the comics. It's like that was like a whole new thing. But I think that they executed that in Amazing Spider-Man 2 very, very badly, and I really do not like it for that. And
Yeah.
and the ending, like when the guy walked through like the hole, and you get to see Doc Ock's octopus things and the vulture's wings. I mean, they tried to even include more characters. I mean, to the Spider-Man, like they were planning to do a third movie, and I mean, this movie got 800 million in the box office, which I mean, to a box office standard, it's not bad. But the audience and critics hated this movie. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of didn't like it from the very beginning. But Sony was like, "Oh, we made money. We have an excuse to make another movie. And if people really don't like that movie, then whatever. we'll just we'll just corrupt a new director for another movie." So
Okay, so going on to the good movies.
okay,
Off, I love Endgame. It's my
it's
second favorite movie.
it's the holy grail of the Avengers movies. or
Yes.
Marvel movies, because it's kind of like there's no other movie that has all the Marvel characters in one place. There's no
Yeah.
other movies, and
Yeah.
that
I
was
mean,
really cool.
Infinity War did a small portion of that, but they didn't have a big epic battle. I mean, they kind of did, but it didn't have a lot. All of the Marvel characters that we know, and even Howard the Duck was in the final battle of Endgame. Did you see that Easter egg?
No, I mean, I saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't see him in Endgame. I'll have
Yeah,
to look.
there's
I'll have to look more closely next time. I'll be like 0.5 speed and just like looking at every single person.
that.
So
Um,
yeah.
what's your favorite Marvel film? Like, what's
Um.
a good?
Did you see my video of Spider-Man: Homecoming? The review I did for the
Um,
movie.
when was that?
That was like a couple weeks ago. I did a review on Spider-Man: Homecoming, the movie.
I didn't see that.
Okay. In that video, I stated that besides Endgame, that's probably my favorite Marvel movie. Besides Endgame and Iron Man, the first one, and Thor Ragnarok, that's my favorite Marvel movie. And
Yeah.
it's the best Spider-Man movie ever. I mean, Far From Home was excellent, but
Okay.
it's no match for Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's just
I,
great acting, great cast.
I did not like. Well, I kind of liked Far From Home. It's just
I
it
like.
wasn't.
Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
Um, Far From Home isn't the best. It's I thought it was. I thought it belonged in the MCU, but just didn't like the film in general. It's but I thought Homecoming was a good movie, and I also thought that Thor Ragnarok was like one of the best Marvel films.
Yeah, because Thor Ragnarok was very colorful in like tone, and the movie was very well done. Because Taika Waititi is a good director, and he has like great visions of how to do a movie. You know, like Jojo Rabbit is like a war film, but all the houses are very colorful, like a rainbow, which is kind of something I like to see in movies. And he has like this vision, and he just really took a new turn with Thor. I mean, they could have done the same thing over, but he did perfectly. But yeah, I really liked Homecoming and Far From Home, and my favorite part of Far From Home is Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I mean, that actor is so good.
I mean, would he make a good Iron Man?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
He died in Far From Home.
Oh no, I mean like if you would recast the Avengers and rebooted the Avengers, would Jake Gyllenhaal be a good Iron Man?
I don't see him as an Iron Man. I see him more as a villain. That's partially due to him being in the movie Nightcrawler. Where have you seen Nightcrawler or heard of it?
Isn't that like what he's like
A camera
hey,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a famous like rage scene where he's at the mirror and he's just shaking it so bad that every time I see Jake Gyllenhaal in an interview or a movie, I think of that scene. I go like, Nightcrawler. That's that's Nightcrawler, the guy who cut his hand doing a scene where he raged. That I mean, that was. I mean, he's a good actor, and I liked him um as a bad guy. He was really good, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How about Ant-Man? What did you think about Ant-Man?
Okay. I've seen the first one. I have not seen the second one. Ant Man was. I haven't. But
So you
Ant
haven't seen Ant-Man before?
I mean, I've seen Ant-Man. It was a good movie. I don't think it was like anything spectacular. I just thought it was a
Yeah.
good movie. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. I liked it personally.
I thought that first Ant-Man was better than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Generally, if you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp constantly, it doesn't get any better. It just gets worse, and then you get tired of it. Ant-Man, on the other hand, is kind of like it's a good movie. Um, and
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's a good movie. Okay, so the video's at 25 minutes. At 30, I'm gonna stop it because over 30, I cannot record.
Okay. We're gonna upload part two. So you're gonna send me the video, and um, I'm gonna basically put on the channel, and then 10 minutes or
S-
after the video is done uploading, we can do part two.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, so, yeah, okay, so, um, uh, okay, so let's wrap it up with, the first Avengers movie,
Yeah.
which is a really good movie. I mean, to be completely honest, and I hope most people don't get offended by this, I don't think in the future the first Avengers movie would age as well as the rest of the movies. I mean, Endgame will forever be a good movie, but the first Avengers a movie was a little cheesy. I mean, in a good way, you know.
I thought it was a good movie. You know, like which one are you talking about? Avengers 1?
Yeah, the Avengers one. I mean, the costumes look a little. I mean, it was like a beginning revolution of superhero movies when superhero movies were beginning to become a thing.
Yeah.
And so it was like it was. I mean, I have to give it credit. I mean, the costumes were like kind of cheesy at the time, but it was like the birth of Marvel. So yeah,
I
I
think
and I really enjoyed Loki in that film. I thought he was funny and great, and I like when the Hulk just beat him up. It was very
God.
funny. That's one of the best scenes in the movie. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Huh.
So yeah, guys. This is the first half of Talk Movies. Well, episode 1.
Yeah.
Um. So see you guys in probably an hour or so. Um.
Um, yeah. Because this will take a couple minutes to upload, and I think I'll only be available for one more part. Sadly, because I'm going to eat dinner and
Okay. Yeah.
do work. So, yeah, only one more part. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channels. My channel and Movie Talk channel. The link will be in below. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to both of us and like the video. Comment down below what's your favorite Marvel movie and what's your least favorite Marvel movie. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So, yeah, peace out.
See you later.
Adios.